I'm Jane Wells with CEOs You Should Know, and you are?
I'm Bill Hornbuckle with MGM Resorts.
And what's your title there?
I'm President and Chief Operating Officer.
Which means, what do you do?
I kind of run the store. We've got about 83,000 employees now. We have 20 operating properties, most of them centric to Las Vegas, but we have a large contingent of properties now in the Northeast, and we have properties as far away as Macau, China.
Last year revenues?
$12.5 billion and growing.
Where are you from?
Originally, I'm an Air Force brat. I was born in Tokyo, Japan, at an Air Force base. My father was in military intelligence, but I ended up in Hartford, Connecticut.
What brought you to Vegas?
Hotel school. I wasn't exactly the best student in high school, to be sure. And so there was really two hotel schools back then. There was Cornell and there was UNLV. And back at the time, UNLV had an amazing national ranked basketball team. And literally, you watch those commercials at halftime about go to this college. Well, I did. I said, oh, they have a hotel school. We literally pulled into Dodge at like 3 in the morning. We had driven all the way from Yosemite. I stayed at a Motel 6, but right across the street was the original MGM. Went to breakfast there at like 4 in the morning, which was kind of cool that you could go to breakfast at 4 in the morning, and played a Keno ticket, which, by the way, is the absolute worst game in the house for the gambler. Hit a $400 Keno ticket within 10 minutes of being there, and I said, I love this town. True story.
How did you end up at MGM? How did you work your way up in management?
So one of the reasons I stayed is I started working for Hilton Hotels, and if you think about Las Vegas in the late 70s, early 80s, it was really the only corporatized group that was there. And so they had reasonable training programs, they had reasonable programs to indoctrinate people just out of college like myself. I quickly found myself in management. They called me the assistant hotel manager. They sat me in a desk at the Flamingo Hilton out front in the lobby, which really meant I was the complaint department. But eventually got lured away by Steve Wynn in '84. And despite all the Steve Wynnisms and the nuances, and there are many, a true visionary back then, a person who knew quality, knew service, knew what he wanted to do. And I worked with him for 15 years. And Caesars came calling. And so I went to work for ITT. I found myself at, now I'm 36, 37 maybe, as the president of Caesars Palace. And so I did that journey for better part of 3 years. At 2.5 years, it got sold. In the selling process, Terry Lanny, who was the former chairman of Caesars, heard of my venture, if you will, called me up and said, how'd you like to come down to MGM and be its president? I said, I'd love to, given the circumstance, because this place here is getting a little crazy. And now I've been with the company 21 years, going on 22. One thing Las Vegas is still very good at to this day is doing high level at scale. I mean, every MGM now is 5,000 rooms, and if you include the signature product, it's 6,500 rooms under one roof. We knew how to do scale, but what was important is a lesson, and Steve Wynn actually taught me this. I came to him one day concerned about what was going on. I'd just gone down to Laughlin as the new boss. And he basically threw me out of the office in about 3 minutes. He said, stop talking. Go back down there, listen to the employees and listen to the customers, and they'll tell you everything you need to know. Get out of my office. And I did. And it was great advice.
2009, you guys are trying to build City Center. The worst, the President Obama saying, wait, don't go to Vegas, basically.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
You guys were on the brink of disaster. What was it like to manage during that period?
Beyond difficult. Look, we were literally, I can remember August of '09, there were 2 Fridays, not 2 weeks in a row, but we had skipped 1 week, where we literally had fencing looking to go around City Center. We had helicopters and media hovering. And we sustained it the first week. We just found some more cash. We got through the second, and by the third week, the same thing had happened all over again. And we took a vote of the bank about support, and we literally won the bank vote. This is incredible, 50.6 to 49.4. We had one small bank that edged over there and gave us what we needed to continue. And if you think about it, we saved 10,000 jobs. We saved 10,000 construction jobs. Aria today is one of the bigger and better successful stories of Las Vegas and of our industry.
Biggest mistake you ever made as a manager?
So Lorenzo Fertitta comes to me. I'm the new president of MGM, about 6-9 months, and he goes, Bill, I've had this thing called UFC with my brother. I'm running it. I've managed to lose about $20 million. I will sell you half the company for $5 million. That was a pretty big mistake if you think about it. Now, I didn't make that mistake alone, but I didn't fight it enough, because we all know a couple years back they just sold it for $4.4 billion on a $5 million
Why
bet.
didn't you give him $5 million? You just thought it was didn't have the legs?
It wasn't, well, at the time it wasn't, well, obviously there was a concern, to be clear. It wasn't really core, but in retrospect, if you now think about our entertainment platforms, and we talk about ourselves now as an entertainment company before we talk about anything else. Yes, we're in the gaming business, yes, we're in the hospitality business, but globally, we like to think of ourselves as an entertainment company. And whether it's on stage or other things that we do, that's the notion of how we approach our business. It became and is the core now of our business. And if we reflect back, you asked me the biggest economic mistake, by far that's it, in terms of just not taking advantage of an opportunity just sat right in front of it. Look, obviously circumstances are always different, and hindsight's 20/20, or $4 billion in this case.
We're coming up on the second anniversary of one of the worst things that's ever happened, and it involved MGM to an extent. Affected your employees, affected your town, affected your customers. How do you manage through a horrific tragedy?
Look, nothing prepares you for that. It was chaos. It was unpredictable in many respects. It was beyond tragic. To this day, we had probably 60 employees who were quarantined at that moment because they were on site and on the project. And to this day, they're scarred by some of the things they remember and some of the things that they see. We all need and want to move on. It's our very nature. It's the nature of Las Vegas. But we will never, ever forget what happened that night. It was horrific.
What's the future? You got a lot of sports coming.
Sports is without a doubt, I think, our next big place to grow to. The success of the Vegas Golden Knights has been historic, literally. They run at 104% every game since the moment it opened. You can't get season tickets. There's 3,500 or 3,600 people waiting for season tickets. We started last year. We moved the WNBA team. We just hosted the All-Star game. And then, of course, the Raiders is the big thing. The venue is almost complete in terms of its steel structure. It opens late next August for the 2020 season. I'm on the commission. We had budgeted $250 million in private seat licenses. That number will probably double. And the interesting thing is over 46% of the people are from outside of Las Vegas. It's people in LA, it's people in Oakland, it's people in Chicago and New York who say, let's go buy 2 or 4 seats, and we'll go half the time and we'll sell the other, whatever the deal's going to be. But the destination to come watch a football game and spend a weekend with friends, family, or your buds it's like no other place in the world.
Are you prepared for Raiders fans?
I hope so. We've seen the journey because they kept showing up as we continued to try to make this thing manifest itself. And it was fun. They always, every commission meeting, this went on for a year and a half, it'd be 8 a.m, they'd have a huge barbecue out there. They'd be there in their motorcycles. It was fun. And so it's an interesting crowd. We'll see.
Bill, thank you very much.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
That's great.
Okay.